Hello and welcome back to another episode on Journey to Authenticity, a podcast helping you to become fully authentic on your journey to success. I'm your host, Braiden Belnap, and I'm a human just like you, striving to build a dream life, all while I stay true to myself. What if you're in a position, though, where you've doubted your stories? You've started to gaslight yourself as to why maybe your life isn't so hard or wasn't so hard. Maybe you're gaslighting yourself that you haven't done that much in this world and you have so much more you're capable of. You're shoulding yourself. You're telling yourself what you should and shouldn't be doing. And in the process, you've lost your authentic self because you've listened to everybody else in the world. That's exactly why we have Aury Rosas joining us today, because she's gone through that. She's gone through divorce, leaving a big organized religion. She went through a lot, doubting her story, doubting her ability, and doubting what she truly can do in this world. And she's here to help you transform that in you. That in mind, welcome to the show, Aury.
Thank you.
Absolutely. We're here and we met, I want to say over a year ago now at Bryce Prescott's little event with Conan.
Yes. I think it was the beginning of 2023.
Yeah, that was a good event.
Yeah, it was super helpful.
Conan's phenomenal. Bryce is as well.
Yeah.
They're both great.
Yeah. I want them to do an event like that again. That is true.
Anyways, so it's been a while since then, but just to jump in, what inspired life coaching for you?
Ooh, so much. Back in 2020, I kind of felt like I needed to make a shift. But I was a manager at a corporate office and I didn't see myself as a manager. I noticed that I was more of a coach. So I started calling myself a coach. And over time, the more I did it, the more I realized I was good at it. And so I tried to create a coaching position with that company. And it didn't work out. I didn't know you could do that as your own thing. My husband's the one who actually gave me the idea. And I was like, oh, people don't do that. That's not a thing. Until I found a coach that actually did that. And so I looked into it and they were like, share your story, talk about it. And I was like, I have no story. I'm not anyone special. And then I started to remember everything that I had done, that I had been through. And that's when I told myself, I'll share this. This is who knows who is also going through this, who has been through this. But I had gotten divorced at a young age. I was 23. And I also left high demand religion. I manifested my new love. And now we have a little girl. And the way I take care of myself, the way I show up in my life, I am 1,000% more like authentic. And I want everyone to be able to see that you're able to be yourself no matter what you've been through. It's something that you can overcome and create the life that you want to create.
That's powerful. So you got divorced at a young age, left a high demand religion. What age were you when you left that religion?
It was in 2019.
2019. So what age does that put you?
I'm not good at math at the top of my head. I'm 30 now. So what, 26, 27?
We'll call it that.
Yeah.
So if you don't mind me asking, what was that religion?
The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fair. Yes, out of just curiosity, do you still believe in what they believe in, or did you leave the beliefs with the religion when you left?
I kept some things, but at the beginning, I kind of left everything because I didn't really know what I believed. But when I decided that I was ready to figure out what I believed, there are some things that I kept and some things that I let go.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Rightfully so, right? And there's a power in that, like actually asking the question, what do I believe?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what was I told?
Mm-hmm.
What do I believe? What do I feel about that? What do I think about that? There's such a power to that.
Yeah.
I was never raised in any religion. I was taught if you're a good person, good things happen to you. There is a lot of truth to that, by the way. I feel like there was some pros and cons in not being raised in a religion. One being is that I've been able to go along my own journey, looking at religion and Jesus and Buddha and all this as like a kid.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I'm soaking it up. And so I've started to learn really what I believe, where I think there's a trick of trying to unlearn to learn.
Yeah.
But there's no really right way to religion. There's just your way. And that's the problem, is everybody thinks there's one way. There's not.
No, there's a lot of different ways, and it gets to be whatever feels good to you, what feels authentic to you.
Absolutely. And then you left a marriage, you left a church. Those are two huge transitions, by the way, and you got through them, so well done.
Thank you.
And then you got married, have a little girl, and life's going good, it sounds like.
Yeah, honestly. I am living the life I never thought was possible. So I'm not at my dream life yet, but I feel like I'm halfway there. I'm living a part of it now.
Yeah, that's what I hear from that is you're the person that is valued at that dream life.
Yes. That's a great way. Yeah.
And the truth is, when you're at that point, it's just a matter of when and not if.
Yeah.
There's a big transition there. When you're living it, when you're being that person, as long as you never give up, it's just a matter of time.
Yeah. It's so true. That's one thing that I noticed within the last couple of weeks, that this year I have noticed that it's not if or can I even get there. I know it's going to happen. And I think that's the difference of when I used to think about my dream life and what I was doing. I'm like, yeah, I'm talking about it as like, yeah, this is going to happen. But the way that I felt about it was still kind of questionable. And now I know it's going to happen.
Isn't that such a wonderful shift? It's like you go through a couple of years. Well, we were talking about this before the podcast. You go through a couple of years of like frustration. You're trying to learn, like, how do I actually create this product or service? How do I actually do it? How do I actually like operate this at a high level? There's so many things to learn. But then there's also that one person that got famous in like 30 days and then with what you're wanting to accomplish, and you're like, why am I not like them?
Yeah.
And there's just so much that goes on at the beginning stages, and it is a good feeling to shift into.
Oh, 100%.
I'm way worthy of this. Like, of course I can do this. Like, why am I not doing this? Or why don't I already have this result? Like, I'm here.
I remember when I first started coaching, it was a mini course, and I put this high expectation on myself that I was going to make so much money and my husband was going to be able to quit his job. And when it didn't happen, I was so mad. But I took a step back and I looked at it, I was like, how was I going to make any sort of money when I was hiding the fact that I had something? I probably shared it a couple of times and I expected people to buy from me. Did they trust me? Probably not. I wasn't really showing up on social media because I was scared. I wasn't really sharing any value. These people didn't know who I was. They were following me because they know me, whether it's family or friends, but they didn't know what I was doing. I wasn't teaching them anything. I was not giving them any sort of value. So how was I going to make anything? So that's something that I think about till this day, kind of like what we said earlier, If I knew back then what I know now, it'd be so different.
Absolutely. You would have launched that first course and killed it.
Yeah. But then it kind of defeats the purpose, our journey, This is how we learn. This is how we become better, by struggling.
Absolutely. If you want to create a strong man, you don't make for easy circumstances. Same thing for women, of course.
Yeah.
That's the truth. God made life a journey, a staircase.
Mm-hmm.
If you take the elevator, it's an easy way to not learn anything.
If it was easy, everybody and their mom would be doing this.
That's the truth, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, wealth, it doesn't just come because it's easy. Like, if you're going to get a college degree, you got to do the work. If you're going to create a podcast, you got to do the work.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. So your story, so share a little bit more about that process, right? You were in corporate, you started to call yourself a coach, you wanted to be a coach. Your husband told you to do coaching outside. And you started to learn that, but you devalued your story. So what was your process to finding your story?
When I realized, I started posting more help stuff on my Instagram before I decided to do my own business. And the amount of people that would relate and would tell me, like, I have loved seeing your journey. Because those who knew me then and know me now, they've been finding my story inspiring. And when they've been telling me that they're proud of me, I was like, oh, sometimes we do water down our things because other people have it worse. But there's no level of what's worse, Like, life is hard. And I had to come to that realization, that it was my hard. That was the hardest thing I had to go through. Yeah, other people have gone through harder things. That's their hard. There's no different levels, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I used to devalue the divorced parents. It's like, stop being a baby, Braiden. You have divorced parents, big deal. Mm-hmm. It's like, no, like that is hard. Still, 2 Christmases, well, 4, because my wife's parents are divorced too.
Oh.
It's hectic.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that it's like horrible. Way better to have 4 Christmases than to not have family. Mm-hmm. But like you said, that doesn't take away the fact that having divorced parents is tough. It's easy to gaslight ourselves. Oh. Yeah. When somebody else does it to us, shame on you. But when we do it to ourselves, truth of the matter is a lot of the time we're not aware of it until we are.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you were devaluing your story. What did it take to stop devaluing your own story?
I'm the type of person who I'm really good at reflecting and changing my mindset on things really quickly. So I remember telling myself that my story, even though it feels super small to me, it's someone's current story. And I would never devalue their story.
Man, isn't that hard sometimes?
Yeah.
Like, shame on you, Braiden, for putting your hand in the cookie jar. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's like, we all make mistakes.
Yeah.
We all do. And that's the beautiful thing, though. It's kind of like the whole concept again is if we went from being born to being our best selves, that would make life way easier, by the way.
Yeah.
Let's be real.
We'd be in heaven.
Literally. But it's nice to go through those struggles. And the truth of the matter is that alone, the moment that you start to, talked about this in my last podcast, victor versus victim, right? Mm-hmm. The only difference between the two is the fact that the victor creates a strategy moving forward and executes. Mm. The victim and the victor, they both see the hardship. Like, life is hard sometimes.
Yeah.
Life throws challenges. You'll stub your toe once in a while, right? And sometimes you're going to cut yourself. The victor is just simply willing to see the pain and the pleasure of transforming, mm-hmm. and willing to say, okay, I need to do X, Y, Z to get this result. And then they go execute. The victim's going to bitch. They're going to see the challenge. They're going to be frustrated. Mm-hmm. They're going to say, why me? And the victor says, why not me? Mm-hmm. And there's just such a big difference in the two. Yeah. Subtle, but big.
Mm-hmm.
And the moment you're in victor, you're still going to face the same challenges in life. It doesn't change that. What it does change is that instead of struggling for a month, maybe you struggle for a week. Mm-hmm. Instead of ruining an entire day.
Yeah, it really does.
So when did you truly start sharing your story?
It actually took me a while. I was afraid. People who know the both of us, I didn't want them to think that I was talking shit or anything. I didn't want to feel that way. I think it wasn't until the end of that year that I had started when I started owning my story, and I actually got 2 clients when I started owning my story.
Let's go.
Yeah.
You really just have to become, and then the results follow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if I was a stranger, I said, hey, what's your story, Aury? Tell the audience. I'm intrigued.
Well, I actually like to share my story because there's so much that plays into it that if you were to see it on paper, I could make a checklist of like all the things that play into it. But I am the oldest. I am Latina. My parents were teen parents. And growing up in a religion, I felt like I had to be this good girl. Ever since I was little, I had different views and I would voice them, but I was silenced. And as I got older, I was told that I had the gift of discernment. And I felt like I did. And every time that I tried to listen to it, I was told, no, you're not listening to the spirit. And I would feel it in my gut. And so when right before I got married, actually, I had called off the wedding. And because I felt it in my gut that it wasn't right. And I was told, you're not listening to the spirit, you're listening to Satan. And I took a step back. I'm like, okay, my gut is telling me no. And if that's Satan, then I should do the opposite. So I started doing the opposite every time I got that feeling. So I made a lot of decisions that I shouldn't have. And my marriage, it was not healthy. It was super toxic. I was super toxic. And I've actually been really open about that. I'm not afraid to say that I was a liar. I know that I manipulated. I had different, I don't want to say different personalities, but I felt like I showed up differently and with so many different people. It was one person. I was one person with him. I was one person with my family. I was a different person with friends. And I didn't like that. And I knew that I became someone I did not like. And I said I would never become. And I knew I would never change if I continued staying. And I also told myself that he didn't deserve the way that I was treating him and that he deserved the love that he needed. And so I had to make the decision. I actually waited. I went on a trip for work and I waited until then to ask for a divorce because I knew that I did not have the strength to do it in person. Because I had actually asked for a divorce five times. But I was always kind of reeled back in. So I knew that I had to be away to actually stand my ground. And I kept it away from my family until I was ready because I didn't want to be persuaded to stay. And after the divorce, I knew it was the right thing because a lot of things started to fall into place. And I actually did not heal from any of it. I wouldn't let myself feel any emotions. I would hold everything in. If I cried, I was in the shower and no one was home, so no one could hear me. But I hid that part of me. And about a year after the divorce, my family is really close to him. Like, we grew up together, and he took pictures of a family member. And it was a party, and he was just going to show up to give him a gift or something. I didn't see him, but just the thought of him being there it brought up a lot. I ended up having a panic attack. I had to go back home. I was a complete mess, and that night I was by myself. It felt like I was going through so many panic attacks, and it got dark really quick. After that, I kind of sat down after I processed everything, and I felt like I was back to myself. I told myself it was time to go to therapy, that I needed to deal with it. And I avoided it because I didn't want to talk about it. And after it's kind of funny because, yeah, I went because of my divorce, but we probably only talked about the divorce and him for like 3 sessions. The rest was just past stuff that I didn't even realize was affecting me. Like, what's it called? The father wound and stuff. And then when they wanted to talk about that, I was like, no. I stopped going to therapy. I was like, I'm not ready to talk about that. But when I felt like, okay, it was time, because I was told one day that the wounds I have now, if I don't work on them, they're just going to pass on to my children. I did not want my children to feel the way that I felt. I'm not saying that I had a horrible father. He was great. He was super present. We were just very similar, and we didn't know how to talk to each other. We were both very stubborn. Typical girl dad stuff, but I still didn't want her or my children to go through that. So that's when I decided it was time to go back to therapy and work on that. So it's been a lot of healing. It's been a long journey. And through all of that, I also felt like I wasn't lovable. I wasn't worthy of love. I seeked for validation. From men. Like, I wanted them to validate me. I wanted to feel loved by them. And anytime a guy would not show up for me, I felt like, why am I not enough? Why do they choose someone else? Why can't I be someone's first pick? It always felt like that was a continuous cycle until one day there was this guy that the same thing happened. But this time I was like, you know what? If I'm meant to be with this person, it's going to happen. Yeah, it sucks, but I'm just going to let it go. And I did. And I decided to give myself those things instead. I showed up for myself. I treated myself. I might have been a little too hyper independent, but that allowed me to find Canyon. And a year after we met, we got married. We just ran off to Vegas and got married.
I love that.
And it's funny because while we were dating, I didn't question anything. I didn't feel any of the things that I felt with anyone else. And I remember talking to my therapist about it during this time. And I told her, I was like, I don't know, it's kind of quiet. It's kind of weird, kind of boring. And she told me that I was used to chaos and that this is what it was to be in a healthy relationship. And when she said that, I looked at her. I was like, a healthy relationship? Like, are you for real? Are you serious? She's like, yeah, all your needs are being met. And that's when I realized that, yeah, he was meeting my needs, but he was even meeting more needs that I didn't even know existed and that I needed. And I did have a hard time kind of letting him kind of take over because I was so used to, I would always call myself the man in the relationships all the time. And with him, he was stepping up. I did not know how to allow that. So it was kind of hard. And I was told, like, you need to, like, sit your ass down. Let him be the man. And I was like, okay. It was so weird, so hard. But he's really allowed me to step into my feminine, and I did not know how that, I didn't even know that was a thing. It was the weirdest feeling for me. And I felt like I needed to go back and get in control of everything. But honestly, I know that because he allowed me to do that, he allowed the space for me to do that, I am where I am today, where I've been able to really focus on my business and try these different things. Because he's really held down the fort for me, and he's continued to believe in me. And it's really nice. It's really nice to be able to have someone, the protector, the one who you feel safe with when it's thundering outside and the lights go out. Instead of you being the protector, he's the protector.
Where's the bat?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, husband got it. I am good.
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't that such a beautiful feeling, though?
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, rightfully so. You started to become a little bit more independent, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Survival mechanism. It's survival of the fittest. But we're always stronger in community. And when you have your roles, husband has their roles, kids have their roles, it's like, it's not like it is your own economy.
Mm-hmm.
Like America has its economy. Each family has their own economy. And the ability to trust your spouse. Mm-hmm. Not have to be the man of the relationship, right?
Yeah.
Or for men, not being the woman of the relationship. Because it can go both ways.
Yeah.
Sounds a little less cool for a man to say that, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, not less cool. Feels,
Yeah.
it shouldn't, because they're both extremely important.
Oh,
I can't make a baby. I can help. I can't make. We all have such important relationships, and the ability to trust each other unconditionally and move forward. Such a beautiful thing.
Yeah, that's so true.
Peace, clarity, you name it. Life is just so much more fulfilling in that way.
Yeah, it makes life easier to go through too.
And the one thing that I want to call out is I coach to this a lot, and it's a concept of starting versus stopping. The way you're talking about your story, it's not that you were like stopping anything. You just started something new. And when you encompass that mindset, that's the victor mindset, right? It's where if you keep looking at your past, you're just making your problems worse.
Yeah.
I think it's important to talk about. We have to understand them.
Yeah.
To start something new. If we just stop stopping things, like if we keep shutting ourselves, they're not going to go anywhere. But when you start, it inspires excitement, fun, inspirational things. Like there's so much beauty when you stop things. There's feelings of guilt, shame. Why have I been doing this for the last 5 years? I wasted 5 years of my life. But when you say, you know what, I'm starting a new life, even though it's the same concept, it inspires so much different emotions.
Yeah.
So keep starting. We were talking before, and it's like the concept that 3 years ago, we thought we knew everything when we knew nothing. It'll be the same way over the rest of our lives.
Yeah, in 3 years, we're going to be like, if only I knew what I knew now.
I'm not going to lie, I'm pretty stubborn too. So when I would talk to adults, I'm like, I know more than you. And in some aspects, arrogant Braiden, I would say I knew quite a bit more than some adults. But there was a lot that I needed to learn as well.
Oh, yeah. Ever since I started my healing journey and understanding everything, my dad and I get along so much better. And old me would have never, ever been able to do that. And now I love being around my parents. I always want to be around them.
That's the best too.
Yeah.
Because I remember growing up, it's like, I'm too cool for you. Or you just butted heads or whatever the case is, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up and being able to have that relationship is also healing.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. To be able to see my parents as human too, because growing up, you see them as the bigger person, this hero. But as I've gotten older and I realize that they've been through their own stuff, they have their own story, and the way they show up and the way they've showed up is just based on their experience.
We're all humans. Our present self is simply a manifestation of our experiences, thoughts, emotions, behaviors, and results. And every human has different across the board on that. So having that expectation of this is applicable for any relationship, by the way. Having the standard expectation, whatever you want to call it, that this person needs to see the world exactly the way I see it, is the foundation to 99% of problems.
Nope. 100%. Yeah.
No, you're wrong. No, we're both right.
Yeah.
That's the trick of the trade. You're not wrong. We're not both wrong. We're both right.
Yeah.
Because it's how we see it. It's true to us. I could believe that red was called blue. If I believed that so much, I'm right. Because I'm right in my own train of thought.
Yeah. That's true.
Silly analogy, but it's the truth.
Yeah, it is true.
I remember so many beliefs growing up, and we talked, earlier, the importance of asking yourself what you believe, asking yourself what you actually think, whether that's in religion, how relationships operate, finances, whatever the case is. When you actually ask those questions, you heal more. You understand yourself. You start to become your authentic self. Because instead of just believing something that you were told, you actually believe it. And maybe you were told something growing up, right? This is the truth. And this is wrong. If you ask yourself, what do I actually believe? And it turns out you actually believe that, Now you have your own testimony as to why that is true for you in your life over, oh, I was just told.
Yeah. It's so
Strengthens it. You have your own story. So you've had a lot of experience. You've transitioned and transformed so much, which I'm so proud of you, by the way.
Thank you.
Like, you've done good. Unfortunately speaking, most people throw in the towel. And I understand that too in some aspects, right? I've had hard times where I'm like, it's been so easy to just throw in the towel.
Mm-hmm.
On the flip side, long term, it would have been way harder, by the way.
Yeah.
But what was that? I know you started going into therapy. What were some of the tools, resources, things that you use to truly transform your thoughts, emotions, behaviors, so that you can have the healthy relationship, have the kid, and know that you're being the best mom?
One thing that I absolutely love to do is journal. Everything I'm going through, everything that I'm taught, I will write it down and I apply them to my life. If I feel like it will help me, then I apply it into my life. There are things, I'm also an observer. I will, if it's a job, if it's my parents, if it's someone else, I pay attention to the qualities that people have that I really like and the way they teach, and I'll take that on. I'll start doing that to see if I like it and if it fits. And I point out the things that I don't like, and I'm like, okay, I won't do this. For example, the job that I had before I became manager, I would pay attention to the things that I liked in all the managers, what I appreciated. And then I made sure that I wouldn't do the things that I didn't like, and I would do them differently. So I've kind of gone like that with everything in my life. And I always look back at my journal to see, all right, I'm going through this now. What did I do back then? How can I incorporate that now? And I'm also the type of person who uses those experiences no matter what it is. And I teach everybody. I always like to share my experiences because I feel like that helps people understand, because that's how I learn too. So that's something that I do for myself. Learn from my past experiences and the way I handled everything.
The one thing that is key to any and all transformation, and that's awareness. Observation, awareness, same thing, right? We can't change. We can't transform without awareness. We'll always change. No matter what, me and you are going to be different people in 5 years. If it's going to be for the best, it starts with awareness, because awareness is what allows us to transform. Difference between transformation and change is that transformation is intentionally done. So that's amazing. So you started to build awareness through journaling, referencing back on your past, what you learned, so that you could consistently move forward. What's next? Let's say you become aware of something. What's next for you?
I try to catch it. Let's say, for example, I'm angry. I used to be the most angry person, and I would get angry so fast and I'd blow up. I started to realize that that's something I didn't want to continue experiencing. And so I started to take a step back and breathe through it all. Anytime I would find myself about to blow up, I'd take a step back, I'd walk away, and I'd handle myself. If I needed to grab my journal and just scribble, I would do that. I would find different ways to express my anger. It's healthy to feel anger, right? But so much all the time, it was exhausting. So that's what I do with anything, is if I notice something, immediately I start practicing over and over again to make sure that I don't do it again.
That's beautiful. Practice makes perfect, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I like the fact that you call out that feeling anger is actually a healthy emotion, right? I look at it as an energy,
Mm-hmm.
right? If we never feel any, let's say, non-serving emotions, we'll never even realize that the other emotions are good.
Yeah.
It's just how life works. Although awareness, you mentioned discernment. Without any of those non-serving, and I shouldn't even say non-serving because the truth is they are serving, just an overabundance of them is non-serving. It helps with discernment. If you're getting angry, either you're probably needing to work on something, or you're actually being told that there's something wrong with that other person or situation.
Oh, that's so true. There's this person who every time something about someone bothers me, I always bring it back to myself. I always ask myself, okay, why is it bothering me? Is there something in them that I don't like about myself? Or did I get offended? I will ask myself all the questions to figure out what it is about me before I bring it onto the other person. And there's this one person I remember talking about them in therapy, and my therapist was like, it's okay to dislike people. You don't have to like everybody. And I just felt like I wasn't at peace. I needed to figure out why I felt the way I felt about this person. And after she told me that, I was like, okay, I'll let it go. But actually this summer, I ran into that person, and I almost felt kind of like I did when my ex-husband was in the same area. Not to the extent, but I noticed a change in myself. And that was like the first time I had been around that person in ages. And when I noticed that change in my body, I went home and I was like, okay, what is going on? Why is this person affecting me that way? And I tried to do some digging and nothing. I was like, there's nothing about this person that I, for example, want. Because some people say like, oh, they're jealous and they want something. So I was like, I'm not jealous of this person. I don't want the life they have. Like, what is it? And I was talking to my sister she was telling me a story about someone. And immediately when she was telling me, I was like, that's kind of like this person. And it kind of clicked what it was. And I realized that it didn't have anything to do with me. And everything to do with that person, and that was okay. I already tried to figure out everything inside of me, and it's okay. And after that conversation, it was fine. Ran into that person again, didn't feel anything. I was calm. It was just another person.
That's amazing. As you say that, I definitely can think of one or two people. And you're right. And it's the power of forgiveness over forgetting, right? That's what I break that down into is forgiveness isn't necessarily for them. It's for you. If you're drinking poison, it's not poisoning anybody else but you.
Mm-hmm.
And so, again, the power of forgiveness is, you get to be the best version of yourself. That doesn't mean you forget. Hell, Jesus didn't even forget.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But he was definitely a forgiver, and thank goodness, because I need it.
Same.
But that's the case, right? Is let's just forgive. But that leads me to my next question. You mentioned that you started listening to the adversary, the devil, over God, per se. How did you learn to get that back?
I learned the word intuition. That was not part of my vocabulary at all. And when I looked into it, I was like, oh, so gut feelings really do exist. And so I started to practice it more. And I think it was like in 2022, I learned about human design. And I read mine, and I read how you best make decisions. And mine is the gut feeling. And that's when I was like, I'm not crazy. I can listen to my body. My body is telling me when something is wrong. So I would play little games with myself I would feel into what I wanted to eat, to what I wanted to do, if I wanted to be around someone. And now that's how I base all my decisions. I tune into my body. And if I feel like I shouldn't be hanging out with someone, then I just don't hang out with them anymore. If I have to decide between tacos or a burger, I feel into that. Like, I'm always testing it out, asking questions to see. That way I never lose that, because I was so far disconnected from myself, and I never want to be like that ever again. I don't want to lose that I don't want to say talent or skill, but it's almost that way because you have to learn how to listen to yourself. So yeah, that was a huge awakening for me, learning that gut feelings are real and to always listen to yourself. And I know that I would have kept myself out of a lot. And it's different for everyone. That's another thing I learned, that, yeah, I have a gut feeling, but the person next to me might not have a gut feeling. They might listen, they might have their intuition speaks to them in different forms. And I was listening to what other people were saying. Like, they were the ones telling me how the spirit talks to me, rather than me realizing the spirit talks to me differently than everybody else. So
You talk so much that you can't hear God. So how about you shut up?
honestly,
Maybe you need to start listening. I will say, though, I'm here to tell you that you'll never lose that again. You want to know why?
why?
So there's an analogy of the thermostat. If your thermostat is set at 70 degrees and a gust of hot wind, meaning success. Did I say 70 degrees?
Yeah.
Okay. A gust of hot wind comes in and makes your room 100 degrees. You as a human are going to make that room to 70 degrees. Now it goes the other way out, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you are set at 70 degrees and a gust of cold wind comes into the room, making it 30 degrees, you're going to naturally heat up to 70 degrees. That's why people consistently experience the same things. You buy a new car, but you have still the same experience. You get in a new relationship with a new man or woman, the same experience. Mm-hmm. You're the problem. You have increased your thermostat. You will never go back to that. Maybe there's one situation that you're like, oh, I didn't listen to myself. But you're going to go right back to that heat again that you set for yourself.
That's true. You're right.
And I'll relate it back to myself. I'll never question whether I'm going to keep going or not. I'll never even thought of quitting will never pass my mind.
Yeah.
Why? I don't have to worry about thinking about quitting anymore because I'll never think about it.
Yeah.
Because my thermostat's here instead of here now.
I love that. That's actually kind of funny that you mentioned that, because we're living with my parents, and for me, it almost felt like it was hurting my ego. I was doing everything. I had a great life, and now we have to move back. But rather than seeing it as I failed, I see it as a slingshot. We had to move over there because what we are doing now, we weren't able to do that where we were at. We were holding ourselves back. Since moving with my parents, we're living different lives. And back then, there was something kind of like the thermostat that you were talking about, setting a limit of what we allow our lives to be. And I wanted to do it. I wanted to try it with money back then. And I was like, I will not allow. This was for myself. Like, my husband was working and everything, but me, myself, I just had my business. And I said, I will not allow myself to make less than this money. And it never worked. It was not working. And I was so mad. Like, this doesn't work. And I stopped trying. I tried for a long time. And when I was like, I'm done. But it came to, I also have a life coach too. So I have a business coach and a life coach. And when I was telling her an experience, she brought it to my awareness that the work that I was doing then wasn't for me then, it was for me now. We've been living off of our savings since March of last year. And every time we feel like we're going to run out, more comes in. And we continue paying for our bills. And we still have more for fun. We haven't struggled. And the reason why that came up is because my husband was scared that we were going to be on the streets. And I told him, you might feel that way. And if you continue thinking that you're going to be living on the streets, we're going to live on the streets. But that's not my story. I am not going to own that. It doesn't even cross my mind. That is not my story. And it's not my story. I'm not letting it be my story. I'm always going to continue finding ways. I've set my limit of what I will not go below. And that's what I've been doing. That's how we've been surviving. We've had enough to be able to pay for our bills. Now we have our place rented out, which is helpful, but we still have money for everything else.
That's the way to go. You always get your needs. You don't always get your wants.
Exactly.
So that's the next question. What are you wanting? Why not turn it into a need? Why not increase your thermostat? People always transform based upon pain or pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be significant enough to inspire transformation. But I'm here to tell you, you can inflict that pain yourself to get going.
Oh my gosh. I was actually thinking about this today. When I found out I was pregnant, we weren't planning on getting pregnant. And when I found out I was pregnant, I was so sad. I was upset. I was like, now I can't go after what I want to go after. My business ideas, gone. Who I am, gone. But I realized that after having her, I feel like I got cranked up. Like I'm doing everything because of her. Obviously me too, but she's my motivation. I want her to have a good life. And now I'm doing things, the plans that I had back then, I couldn't even tell you what they were. I'm like, those were nothing. Now I have more ideas and everything's finally starting to work out. Kind of like you said, like after 3 years, everything that I've been working towards, I finally feel like I'm seeing everything that I didn't before.
Absolutely. We are going to take that unplanned pregnancy that we're going to hand that energy back over to you. The truth is, like, love myself to death. If we had an unplanned pregnancy, I'd probably be feeling the same way.
Yeah. It was really hard. Very hard. Because also last year we had talked about maybe not having kids because we liked how we were living our life. And I really wanted to go to Tulum and be out there and live out there. And that's what we did. And till this day, I say the only reason why we were sent to Tulum was to have a kid. Because when we were trying, nothing was working. And after a while, I was like, maybe we can't have kids. That's what we thought. And all of a sudden, we had to let go of the life that was kind of mundane. The stress. We were happy, but not happy. And we went to Tulum, all that stress, all that ickiness went away, and we were really able to live a slow, intentional life. Within a month, we got freaking pregnant.
Yeah, you plateaued.
Yeah.
It's a concept of also letting go, right?
Mm-hmm.
A need is a need. But expecting, like, I'm going to start my business this month and I'm going to be a millionaire by next year. No, you have the goal, you show up, and you don't expect it.
You have to be
Because when you're disconnected from that expectation, one, you enjoy the process way more.
Mm-hmm.
And usually more fruit comes your way.
Oh, 100%.
I love that. It's powerful. Yeah, not going to lie. Me and my wife are exactly where you were. We walked into Target the other day. Within 5 minutes, we see a kid running away from his parents and another in a cart just screaming. And we're like, thank goodness we don't have kids. And I do know that we want kids. Yeah. I know she wants kids, and we will. So it's probably time we stop thinking of it that way. But it certainly is nice to just go to a bookstore and not be worried about.
Or go to the grocery store really quick without having to pack up everything.
Or going on a night drive.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm probably speaking of all the things that have changed. I shouldn't apologize, but it's changed for the good.
Oh, 100%.
To be a top, this is essentially the metrics they say to be, quote unquote, a successful American, which, by the way, is really easy. Statistically speaking, it's really easy to win. But it's graduate high school, get married, have kids after you get married, and just simply get a job. If you cross those 4 boxes, you can consider yourself a successful American as long as you just consistently keep showing up in life.
That's very simple.
That's it. It's not crazy.
Yeah.
Like, all you have to do is be slightly a good worker. It like layoff, like don't get me wrong, stressful time barely impacts anybody. In the short blip of time, lots of stress for families, whatever the case is. But the person thermostat is work hard, job, work ethic. So they just go find a job in 1 to 3 months. And then they're right back on the horse making things happen. Isn't that crazy?
That's so wild.
Like us humans make the biggest deals of things. Like, for example, babies. I still make it a big deal. I'm not going to lie.
It's a big deal.
But in turn, it actually makes you more successful.
Yeah. Yeah. You know how I said that it's like a slingshot?
Yeah.
Sometimes you do have to go back a little bit to be able to catapult forward.
Absolutely. My wife's going to be like playing this in the background. Hey, Braiden, go listen to that podcast. So I already know that's going to happen, and I can tell she's smiling over there. Yeah, it'll be good. I'm excited to have a little Braiden at some point, or, who knows. Maybe I'll have 2 girls. It won't be a full family of girls, but I don't think that'll be the case.
We always get what we don't want.
Did you want a boy?
Yeah, I did. And I really truly believed that I was going to have a boy first.
Really?
And
okay.
I had a reading done once, and she told me that we were talking about spirit babies, and she told me that my spirit baby was female. But she did tell me, just because she's coming through as female doesn't mean that you will have a girl. And this was before I even wanted to have. I always wanted to have kids. I'm going to say that. I always did. But after seeing my sister's pregnancy, I was like, no, I don't want kids. That scared me. And we were talking about it. And so when she said female, immediately I was like, I don't want a girl. Because growing up, I had a hard time having girlfriends. I didn't know how to keep them. And I was like, if I didn't know how to be a friend to a girl, how am I supposed to raise a daughter? I'm good now. Now I'm good. But that scared me. So I did the same reading. She told me, I had to ask her the question, like, I don't know if I want kids. I don't know if this is how I feel, or I do want kids. And she told me, no, you do want kids. It's just not right now. Your baby is waiting for you to be ready. The person you're becoming right now, that's who your baby is waiting for. And in my head, I was like, millionaire Aury. I'm going to be a millionaire when she comes. And she came when my husband quit his job in March of last year so we could go to Tulum. She came when we had no consistent income and I wasn't working on my business. And I remember thinking, what the hell? Like, why now when we don't have any jobs? I was like, I'm definitely not a millionaire now. What the heck? And then I realized that it wasn't the physical aspect. It was me mentally. Because the way I show up now as a mother and to the world is so different than if I would have had a baby a few years ago.
I love that. I will say, so this reminds me of one thing, and the last thing that I'd love to share that goes not necessarily along with that, but along with that, because, the way we treat ourselves is usually how we treat other people, right? And so to me, it's similar. And I've been putting this to practice, but I don't even remember where I heard it. But it said, treat everybody you see as if it was Jesus in disguise.
Oh.
Like, would you be able to, like, even if somebody makes a mistake that's, like, somewhat reasonable to be, like, very frustrated about, if they were Jesus, would you be proud of it?
Wow.
And honestly, I've been putting it in practice the last couple of days, and my life, even the last couple of days, has been way better.
I like that. I like that because last week I kind of blew up on my husband a little bit, and I felt so bad because that's not normal. And for the past week, even though I apologized, which now I feel like I need to forgive myself as we talk about this, but it's been something that's been on my mind. And now thinking of that, I'm like, damn.
Can I share something with that? Remember my concept that I shared, stopping versus starting?
Yeah.
You apologized. Now go do something nice. And then you'll forgive yourself.
I like that.
The stopping, like, again, you needed to apologize, and you did. Most wives and husbands won't do that. to begin with. So good job. That's amazing, especially if you've done it multiple times. Just go do something nice for them.
It's a good idea, actually.
Anyways, as we come to a close, if you had a couple of specific steps people could follow to really transform their lives from your story, what would that be? Just in summary.
Figure out your emotions, things that are blocking you, things that are holding you back. That's the first step. Is coming to terms with there are things that are holding you back. The second one, mind-body connection. Being able to have that, it's going to work wonders. You'll be able to make decisions that are helpful, and that will bring you closer to that dream life that you desire. And the next one is energetic balance. Being able to create a life that is sustainable and that sticks, rather than trying all these different things that everyone says that you need to be doing, is finding your own.
That's powerful. I love that last one, sustainable. I built my business off of not being sustainable. Don't get me wrong, I learned so much, like genuinely, but building a life that's sustainable is powerful. Goes back to that thermostat. When you build something that's sustainable, it can even be destroyed and you're going to get it back just like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I love that. Alrighty. 3 more questions here for you. One is, if you had one last thing to leave for the audience today, what would that be?
Be your true self no matter what anybody says, whether it's family, friends, society. You know best. Nobody knows your life. You might tell them stories, you might share things, but nobody really knows how you feel inside, and nobody really knows your path.
Love that. What is your definition of an authentic life?
Being able to show up as you, who you are, showing whether it's the way you dress, the music you listen to, sharing your voice, doing the things that you love without feeling embarrassed and having to hide.
I love that. And the last is, how can I and my audience be supporting you?
Come follow me on Instagram.
And we'll link that below for everybody. I would reiterate that I love your confidence videos. You're killing it.
Thank
So
you.
yeah, go give her a follow. That would be phenomenal. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to the Journey to Authenticity podcast today. If you liked what both myself and Aury had to say, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. This helps me to get the most high quality guests and most interesting to ultimately be able to move your needle forward. Also, why I have you here. If you are truly ready to transform your life, ready to transform from hardships like we've talked about today, be sure to go to braidenbelnap.com or the link below. Fill out my application for one-on-one coaching. I'll be gifting you a one-on-one coaching session with this podcast today so that we can take you deeper to truly transform your life. Thank you guys.